Hello, Father Fred here again today. Today we're going to go to chapter 9 in Genesis, and it's video number 10, and it's going to be in English. Now, as always, I would suggest to go to chapter 1 first. If you're just now starting, it's going to be something that builds as we go. So you need really the basis for chapter 1 before you get to chapter 2 and so on. But this is going to be chapter 9, and it's video 2. Before we get to that, though, before we go to chapter 9, we're going to talk a little bit about the redactor. Now, the redactor is the person that took these short stories. That's all it was there to start with, was just short stories. There was a story of the flood, a story of creation, another story of the Abrahamic covenant. And we're going to take these short stories, or this person does. He takes these short stories and he ties them together. He uses genealogies, and the genealogies are fluid. This is not a history book, nor is it a science book. This is a book of faith, and they took liberties as to how they chose what genealogy, what parts to put in the genealogy. But for right now, if you got your Bible, I'd like for you to open it to chapter 5. And in chapter 5, we're going to see, as we go from Adam to Noah, we've got a genealogy, 10 generations. Now, when we finish with Noah pretty soon, we're going to go to Abraham. We're going to have 10 more genealogies, and they're going to form the same pattern. It's easy to see that the one that writes between Adam and Noah is the same guy that writes between Noah and Abraham. So first of all, let's just look. I'm going to skip a little bit from chapter 5. That's where we go from Noah, from Adam to Noah. And I'm going to go to chapter 11 also, and that's when we go from Noah to Abraham. And you're going to see the same pattern. It's pretty neat. So let's look. In Genesis chapter 5, it begins the generations of Adam to Noah. So keep that in your mind. In Genesis chapter 11:9, it says the generations from Shem to Abraham. Same thing, only it's now at a later date. Then we can also go to Genesis chapter 11:26, and we read the story of the ancestors of Israel. Same thing. Same thing. It's got this redactor is just using the same pattern to go from one short story to the next. The next thing we read is in Genesis. This is verse 1 in chapter 5. Verse 1 says, "This is the record of the descendants of Adam." Keep that in mind. This is the record of the descendants of Adam. Now, if we go to Genesis chapter 11, verse 10, we read, generations from Shem to Adam for Abraham, and then we read, these are the descendants of Shem. Same thing. And then if we go to Genesis chapter 11, verse 27, these are the descendants of Israel. Almost the same word for word. Some of them are the same word for word. So let's look now. In Genesis chapter 5, verse 3, we have this same pattern over and over. And there were 10 of those that said the same thing, and we're not going to go over all 10 of them. But we're going to look at a couple of them, and find out why and how they get here. In Genesis chapter 5, verse 3, it says, Adam was 130 years old. That's how old he is. And he begot a son in his likeness, after his image, and he named him Seth. Tells his age, and he's got a son. Chapter 5, verse 4 says, Adam lived 800 years, that's the time, and he begot Seth, and he had other sons and daughters. So he tells his age, and then it tells that he has a son, and it just about always says, and he has other sons and daughters. So keep these in mind, because we're going to find the same thing in chapter 11. In Genesis chapter 5, verses 28 and 29, and this is the last one of the 10th one, and this is the reason that it's even in there. Genesis 5, 28 and 29 says, when Lamech was 182 years old, that's how old he is, you know what he's going to do. He begot a son, and this son is special. His name is Noah. So we have gotten, I skipped a lot of them, but we have gotten from Adam through the line of Shem, or through the line of Seth, we have gotten now to Noah. And that's what the whole thing was about, to get from one short story to the next. 5 verses 5:30 says, Lamech lived 595 years after he begot Noah, and you know what he did? He had other sons and daughters. Now that's all in chapter 5. Let's look now at chapter 11 to verse 10, and we read this. When Shem was 100 years old, it tells us how old he is, he begot Apashad, and he had other sons and daughters. Tells how old he is, he's got a son, and he's got more sons and daughters. Genesis chapter 11, verse 12 says this. When Apashad was 35 years old, tells how old he is, he begat Shelah, and guess what? He had other sons and daughters. Now this is in 11, chapter 11, just like in chapter 5. This man has a pattern, or this person has a pattern that he's using. And here is the reason that we have these 10 generations to go from Noah to Abraham, and this is it. Genesis 11:26 says, when Terah, now Terah is Abraham's father. When Terah was 75 years old, there tells how old he is, he begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now Abram is going to get his name changed to Abraham. So actually, we've gone from Adam to Noah with 10 generations. We've gone from, we hadn't gone there yet, but we will. We're going to go from Noah to Abraham, and we're going to go through 10 different generations. And it's all going to start out, he's 80 years old, he has a son, then he has other sons and daughters, and then he dies. You can see so easily the redactor in action, not if you just read the Bible, because you'll read over it, you'll skip it. Not even if you study it, because you're not looking for these things. And I wasn't either to start with. But now, we're not just reading it. We're not just studying it. We're analyzing it. We're taking it apart. Not to say that the Bible is not the Word of God. That's not what it's about. But it's a different way of reading the Bible. And for me, it's the only one that makes sense. Otherwise, we'll go blind trying to make 2 equal 14. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. All of chapter 1 in Genesis and chapter 2. Chapter 1, the world was covered with water. The whole world was covered with water. Chapter 2, there's not a drop. Before he creates Adam, there's not a drop of water. There's no plant because it has not rained yet. It didn't have to rain in chapter 1. It was already covered with water. In chapter 1, God creates the plants and the animals and then the people. In chapter 2, he creates Adam first, then the plants, and then the animals, and last of all, he creates Eve. You can see it's 2 different stories if you're open to it. If not, that's okay also. You don't have to read it as I do. But for me, if I do not realize that it's 2 different writers, I'm going to have problems for me, because I'm going to try and read it literally. I tried to read it literally. I wanted to read it literally, but 2 never came out to be 14. Okay, let's go now to chapter 9. In chapter 9, they are now off the boat. They got off the boat in chapter 8. They got off, and if you used the J source, they offered sacrifices, and God could smell the aroma. He's the one that has the human qualities. He regrets that he does things. He's wished that he had done something different. And it sounds like kind of odd for God, but in that J source, God is so close to being a human, and they felt such a relationship with him in the south. Now today, this story is going to be in the north. It's going to be one more character. In the priestly source, it's just data, 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 and God, God, God. In the J source, we call it J because of Jehovah. Starts with a J. We have Lord, 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 and he tells a story. Today they're going to be telling a story, and it's going to be God, God, God. The northern kingdom, the northern part of the kingdom, used God for their supreme being. In the southern part, they used Lord or Yahweh or Jehovah, one of those three. So let's look now. They're off the boat, and this is going to be interesting. I think it's funny. It starts out with God. It's going to be a story, but when it starts with God, it's telling you it's not going to be from the south. It's going to be a rider from the north. Now, there are a lot of other things besides that. For instance, when they tell the same story, this fella is going to use places that are in the northern kingdom. Whenever the southern writer uses them, he's going to play the same story, but he's going to use places that are in the southern kingdom. Okay, let's go ahead. This is verse 1. God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fertile, multiply, and fill the earth. That's the same thing he said to Abraham. That's the same thing he said to Isaac. That's the same thing he said to Jacob / Israel. He says that to them. He's got two things he wants for them to do. He wants them to reproduce, have families, and he wants them to have land. There's land that's going to belong to them. And the land is going to start coming about in this chapter. Verse 2, and this is an unusual thing. It says, fear and dread of you shall come upon all of the animals. All the animals are going to fear us. I don't know if they had lions and tigers back then, but I'm not going to get around a lion or a tiger to see if they might be afraid of me. Verse 2 says, fear and dread of you shall come upon all of the animals on the earth, and all the birds of the air, upon all the creatures that move about on the ground, and all the fishes of the sea. Into your power they are delivered you. They're not going to be delivered to me in my power unless I've got a rifle or something, if it's a lion or a tiger. Verse 3 says, any living creature that moves about shall be yours to eat. I give them all to you as I did the green plants. So now, remember back in the chapter 1 and 2, all they could eat was fruits and vegetables. Now he's given them every animal to eat. But something's going to happen later, because there's going to be some animals that you can't eat. There's going to be clean animals, and there's going to be unclean animals. He's going to give them now, they can eat meat. Number 4 says, only meat with its lifeblood in it, still in it, you shall not eat. If the blood's still in it, you can't eat it. For them, as you lose blood, little by little, sometimes the blood level is going to get low enough that your life will be taken away. So blood for them was lifeline. And they could not take the life of any animal, even if the animal is dead, they cannot take its blood. That's called kosher, and that's the way they had to prepare it. If you buy meat at a Jewish market, the blood will be all drained. Verse 5 says, indeed, for your own lifeblood, I will demand an accounting from every animal. I will demand it. Even if it's an animal you eat, even if it's an animal that you kill, you've got to drain the blood. Drain it from a human being, each one of the blood of another, I will demand an accounting for human life. In other words, you kill somebody and you're going to pay for it with your human life, if it's another human. Verse 6 says, anyone who sheds the blood of a human being, by a human being shall that one's blood be shed. You're going to die the same way. That's what Cain was afraid of. But he did get a mark on him to protect him. But now there's no marks. You kill a man, you're going to be killed. Why does it say that? Because for in the image of God have human beings been made. We have something divine in us. We have human dignity. Every person has human dignity. And if we kill something, some person, we're killing some part of God that's in that person. We're made in that image. And that image of God cannot be killed unless the person that kills it is going to pay the same way. And here's what it tells them again. Be fertile then, and multiply, abound on the earth, and subdue it. You're supposed to be king of the road. King of the road. We are to subdue it. Verse 8 says, God. Now this is a story, and it says God instead of Lord. If it says God and it's a story, it's going to come from the northern kingdom. And that's the first time we've come across this. And you're not going to remember all of this, but you're going to see it over and over. God said to Noah and to his sons, see, I'm now establishing my covenant with you and your descendants after you. This is for you and everybody else. Remember, they've just been all drowned, except Noah and his family. And with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the tame animals, and all the wild animals that were with you, all that came out of the ark. He's not just making a covenant with us, he's making a covenant with the animals. That's hard for us to imagine, maybe. But those animals are his creatures. And so he wants to care for them also. Verse 11 says, I will establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all the creatures be destroyed by the waters of a flood. There shall not be another flood to devastate the earth. So this is his pact with us. Verse 12 says, God said, this is the sign of the covenant that I'm making between me and every living creature with you and for all ages to come. He's repeating himself. I set my bow in the clouds to serve as a sign of the covenant between me and what? And the earth. This earth is ours to take care of. This is not something that we can destroy, or we should destroy anyway. But this covenant, it's between the people and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow appears in the clouds, verse 15 says, I will remember my covenant. Now see, this is also, these are close to God. This would, sometimes they're the same story, because at one time they were united. Now they are separated when these two stories are written. Even though it's long after their memories, that they're gathering them up now. And it has to be when the kingdom is divided, because we've got the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. That little board fell down, but that's okay. 15, I will remember my covenant between me and you and every living creature, every mortal being, so that the waters will never again become a flood to destroy every mortal being. Verse 16, when the bow appears in the clouds, or the bow, rainbow, when the bow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature, every mortal being that is on earth. He says that over and over and over. He wants us to know that he cares for us and that he wants to protect us. And then we have, God told Noah, this is verse 17. God told Noah, this is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and every mortal being that is on earth. We are going to switch gears now. This is all about the flood and about how he's made the covenant and all. Now we're going to switch gears. We're going to go now to the south. We're not going to have God anymore. It's divided up. This is what the redactor does. Verse 18 says, the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. Now, I was asking myself, he's got 3 sons there, and they're coming out of the ark, and he says he's the father of Canaan. Why just Canaan? They've got other children. Why does he point out Canaan? We're going to find out why in this very chapter. These 3 were the sons of Noah, and from them the whole earth was populated. So just like Adam started up to populate the world, now we're going to start again. Noah's family is going to populate the world. Verse 20 says, Noah, a man of the soil, was the first to plant a vineyard. Now, you know what a vineyard is? It's where you plant grapes. And you know what grapes have come into? Noah's going to have a little bit of problem. Verse 21 says, he drank some of the wine and became drunk, and he lay naked inside his tent. Now, if you look at that, you think, Noah is the only one to blame here. He drinks and he gets drunk, and now he takes off his clothes. He's got on nothing but a smile, but he's not going to take the blame. He's going to put it on somebody else. It says here, Ham, the father of Canaan. We got Canaan again. Why, of all of the kids, why does Canaan come up again? Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness and told his 2 brothers outside. Shem and Japheth, however, took a robe, and holding it on their shoulders, they walked backward and covered their father's nakedness. Since their faces were turned the other way, they did not see their father's nakedness. So Noah is going to wake up in a little bit. Verse 24, here he comes. When Noah woke up from his wine and learned what his youngest son had done to him, he said, and here's poor old Canaan, cursed be Canaan. Now Canaan is not even there. His 3 sons are the ones that are there. Why is Canaan getting cursed? Why was he the only one mentioned whenever it named the 3 sons? Why was he the only one mentioned? And why is he getting cursed now? Because he wasn't even there. Cursed be Canaan. Now here's his curse. The lowest of slaves shall he be to his brothers. He is going to be a slave to his brothers because of something that his daddy did, and he wasn't even there. And what did his daddy do wrong? He also said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. Shem is being built up. That's one of the brothers. But let Canaan be his slave. He's going to be a slave to everybody. May God expand Japheth. God's going to bless Japheth, make him have lots of land. And may he dwell among the tents of Shem. So they're going to be together soon. He's going to have tents there with him. And the last line says, and let Canaan be his slave. Now, here is what scholars say. Scholars say, first of all, Noah could not be held as a sin because it's the first time anybody drank wine and he didn't know what it was going to do to him. Secondly, so that he wasn't going to be the one that gets blamed, they say that, and this is what scholars say, it's not just me, scholars say that Canaan had to molest his daddy some way, or his daddy wouldn't be able to put a curse on him. I see one more way. I haven't found it in any in any books that says, any commentaries that says this. But I think there is one more way too. I think that these writers do not always make their heroes perfect people. For instance, David, King David, he was one of the top notch, the top three anyway, in that Old Testament. And he stole a man's wife, and to get to keep the wife, he had the husband go into army to a war where he knew he would be killed. And that's one of the biggest heroes in there. That's the Messiah that all the Christians were looking for in that early church. They were looking for a king, a warrior that was going to come and set them free. That was going to be their Messiah. But Canaan is going to be the slave. This is prefiguring when Shem's relative Abraham, and if you remember in that chapter 11, we went from Shem to Abraham. So Abraham is a descendant of Shem. That's how we got from Noah to Abraham. And Abraham is going to conquer, and his followers are going to conquer the land called Canaan. So we're getting set up right here for these Israelites to be able to go in and take this land. And why should they get up somebody else's land? Because it's cursed by Canaan because his daddy did something. Poor Canaan. Last of all, the Redactor comes in again. Noah lived 350 years after the flood. His whole lifetime of Noah was 950 years, and then he died. And that's the way so many of these end. He did this, and then he died. Again, I'd like to ask you, if you're watching this, first of all, find the English ones. They're in English and Spanish, and we're getting so many now that it might be difficult to find them. And start with one if you can. But there is a place to leave a comment. And I would ask you to leave a comment. Now, if you happen to be wanting to, in a church, and you want to start a Bible study, especially a Catholic church, because you don't have guides a lot of time, you can use these and take them one at a time and put them on a video and use them to start a Bible class. Because we Catholics need to read the Bible more than we do. You have a wonderful day. God bless you. See you next week.